everybody. This is Julissa. Thank you so much for being here. And if you are listening in the podcast, thank you so much for listening. I am here. Today is Saturday, June 17, 2023. I heard about this story earlier today, and I was like, that is just amazing. Another miraculous story to share in these the times of darkness and so much evil that is happening in this world, but there are a lot of miracles happening. I mean, being alive is also a miracle. I was just thinking that because my last episode I was saying how it's kind of hard to see, like 'cause- like what I said was, it seems as though the kingdom of darkness is winning, but God said, just being alive is a miracle. And I was like, I really, I take that back, because that is true. Just being alive on this earth, being able to breathe and be healthy and alive on a daily basis is a miracle on its own, the miracle of life, right? And speaking about that, this story really got me chills, because this is a story of a mom and a daughter, right? They went hiking. The daughter only has one arm, right? And the mom and the daughter were hiking in Oregon, I believe. And the mom apparently fell off of a cliff, and the daughter was holding on to her by her one arm, right? And as I'm listening to this miraculous story, how she was able, the daughter holding on to her mom, right, with just one arm. That's just, that's God is in that story right away, right? um and she was able to yell and call out for help. And you learn you learn so much from the story, right? So she called out for help, and there was a young man who heard them cry for help, and he actually came and helped her pull her mom off from almost falling off this cliff, and brought her to safety, right? And we learn so much from this. Not only do we, it's another reminder that God is amazing, that God is always there. But I learned something from this. Sometimes in life, we think that there's no more hope, right? Because I'm saying that because in this, the whole thing was recorded, by the way. So after you listen or watch this video, go ahead and search for this story, and you'll be able to see it, because the hiker, the one who came out to help them, he had a GoPro camera, and he basically recorded the whole thing, right? So there's another thing about that, right? Like, I still cannot believe that a whole plane went missing and nobody knows anything about it, right? But everybody these days have a camera, right? But I'm so thankful that was just my side note, right? I'm so thankful that we're able to see this miraculous story also on video, right? It's great to believe without seeing, but when you see it happen, it's just amazing. And that tells you how we are in the year 2023. How, people always say, did that really happen? You're like, oh, I have the whole footage for it. You want to see the video, right? And it's just so crazy, because that's how technology is these days, right? That's why it's so hard to believe. People are like, oh yeah, we don't know what happened to the Malaysian airline. Nobody knows what happened. It just basically disappeared. Yeah, okay. You know what? Like, technology is so advanced. I feel like every time, everywhere you go, I feel like everybody's just, there's somebody, rest assured, somebody's recording the whole thing. And that's how technology is, right? But anyways, going back to this topic for today. So he was able to record the whole thing on his GoPro, right? And what I was saying was that we learned so much from this story. Not only that, sometimes in life, if you're dealing with something that is so difficult, right? I had my moments, like I said in my previous episode. Last 2 weeks have been very hard for me, and sometimes you think, man, I'm dealing with something so horrible. How am I going to get out of this? It's just impossible. And the reason that I say that is because in this whole footage of this rescue, you hear the mom, the one that was hanging off the cliff, and her daughter was trying to just rescue her with everything she had. And the only thing she had was her one arm, right? And she's trying her best, screaming, yelling out for help. And you hear the mom saying, just let go, right? And like I said, we learn so much from that, right? We learn that um, sometimes when you feel like it's coming to an end, you have to understand that God will always send help. So don't deal with things on your own, right? That's like the main thing. Sometimes we feel like it's just a close case, right? This is just impossible. Not, it's impossible. I don't see any possibility here. We're up in this mountain. My daughter only has one arm. There's no way she can pull me up. So I'm just gonna, let her save herself and be like, just let me go, right? But we also see somebody, you learn that somebody who only had, she used what she had, which was just her voice and her arm, one arm. And like, she's doing everything she can to save her mom. And that's how sometimes you have to be in life. Sometimes we think that we don't have what we need, and we're like, until I get it, I'll do something until I have it. But everything you have, everything you need, you already have, right? And who would have thought, right? Maybe they probably never thought that something like this could happen, but they already knew, like, it's nothing new to them that the daughter was missing one arm, right? So, but she used not only her arm, she used also her voice to call out for help. And a lot of the times we feel like, um, it's going to be impossible. Life is going to be impossible after you go through like a hard, tragic story, I guess you can say. We don't know exactly how she lost her arm, but this is how, that's where you see the power of God manifesting, because use what you have. A lot of the times, like I said, we think that we don't have it. We think like, I don't have anything. I'm gotta wait until I have this to go to the next step. And God is gonna see you use what you have, and He's gonna come and complete that. And what a beautiful way to see that, because as she's pulling, holding on to her mom with her one arm and screaming out for help, then here comes this young man with the desire to help. And that's another lesson that we learn from the story, is that, you know, be a helper. Like, if somebody calls out for help, jump at the opportunity. A lot of the times we're like, oh, let me get back to you. Let me think about it. I'll see what I can do. A lot of the times, like, you just have to drop everything and run. This man didn't even think it twice. He's like, somebody needs help, I'm gonna go there. And God is putting opportunities on to us on a daily basis. You don't have to go to the next mountains and be like, let me keep my ears out, see who needs my help today, because I'm gonna be a hero today. Opportunities to help somebody are everywhere, right? One thing I like to do, I'm not trying to glorify myself, nothing like that, but a lot of the times we're like, I want to donate money, and I don't know, I don't trust this foundation, or I don't trust this organization. And it's like, have you ever gone and read stories on GoFundMe.com and go through them and see who's in need and see how you can help somebody? There's so much need in this world, right? And you don't have to wait, to encounter, like, in the highway, somebody in need, or like wait for in the traffic light for somebody to be waiting for you with the poster saying, I have no food or something. There's opportunities to help somebody everywhere, including family members, anybody, right? So reach out, but be also willing. This man is just going about his day, right? And he's encountering this life or death situation where he doesn't even know, like, how safe is the area. He could have just run so fast and probably jump off the cliff, before he can even help them. But that's how heroes are born, right? They don't think about themselves, right? A hero never thinks about themselves. Somebody needs help, I'm gonna be there, and that's it. The last thing they worry about is themselves in that moment. And he, like I said, go ahead and search for the footage. You will be able to see everything, how everything unfolded. But it's just so amazing to see that in life, God never called us to do this by ourselves, number one, right? So I always say, in my videos, in my podcast, if anybody needs prayer, there is help, reach out. No judgment, nothing like that. You say, can you pray for me about this and the other? My email is very public. I always mention my website, JulissaDesigns.com, where you can reach out if you're not comfortable, going to church tomorrow, let's just say, and, asking anybody for prayer. You can reach out. That's why technology is also good in its own, because you get to reach out to people and hear the stories like this, and share it with the world, and see and share the good works that the Lord is doing in these moments where you see a lot of the times it feels as though the devil is winning. But never forget that the devil has been defeated on the cross 2000 plus years ago. So let me read, before I finish, a little bit of this article, right? um a hiking in a hiking Oregon man, excuse me, was captured the moment he jumped into action and helped a young woman pull her mother back up to safely after she slipped off the side of an elevated trail. The dramatic scene unfolded Wednesday at the Columbia River Gorge, I guess you can say, where Taylor Rath's GoPro footage shows him running towards the cries for help before finding the daughter, who only had one arm, holding onto her mom, dangling off the side of the cliff. Okay. Um, right away, this is what he said. What was his name again? Taylor, right? He said, right away, I jumped over her and I saw the lady laying on her back. Head was downhill as if you just sat off the rail and leaned yourself back. Oh wow! So her head was facing back. Wow, that must have been so scary for her. Right away, I jumped over her. The footage showed him grabbing the older woman's arm as she tried to get back in the trail near the top of the Mul- Multnomah Falls. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, so I'm already saying it, everybody. So in case you want to tell me that's not how you say it, it says here, "I'm gonna give you a big hoist here," he told the woman, who then yanked back to safety with the help of her daughter. Glory to God. This young man, it was sad because I distinctly remember her so vividly saying, just let me go. And I remember thinking, wow, she's ready to die here. Instead, the GoPro footage ends with the undefined woman and her daughter tightly embracing. Back in his car, Ruth said on a video post on Facebook that the Panda Express fortune foreshadowed his heroic thing. So the fortune cookies at the Chinese places. This is another thing, right? And I don't, it's so crazy. I don't really, as a Christian, you look at those things. Sometimes you don't even read it because you're like, whatever. I don't believe in that, right? But then this is so interesting because he said he had a Panda Express fortune cookie, and what it said inside was, you will have an opportunity to shine this week. And it's so crazy how this man now has such a great story to share with the world, right? So we can learn so much from this story. And the other thing that we can learn from this miraculous story is that life is unpredictable. This is something that I say all the time. So, what do we have? We have the present, and we have opportunities every day to be of help to somebody. And before you even go to help anybody, always know this thing: connect yourself with Jesus, right? You don't know when, like, nobody knows when they're going to be born. They don't know when we're going to die. We don't know when it's going to be our last day. So why we put up so much having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, right? We don't know what's going to happen, right? We plan our days, we plan our months, but at the end of the day, the only ones who knows what's going to happen is our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So, you know we like, I want so many things, right? As I'm getting myself ready to reopen and get started and get ready for New Year Fashion Week, at the end of the day, the one who's in control is God, right? So it's gonna happen if he wants it to happen. I do feel like I'm being pushed to do that, right? And the visions are coming and everything is just kind of like unfolding right in my hand. And like I said in the beginning of this episode, just talking about using what you have, right? It's almost like, who did he say? He said to somebody, what do you have in your hands, right? And I'm like, but I need this. Before I get to do that, I need to get this. And God is like, what do you have already? Julissa, like, pay attention. Like, you already have, right? Sometimes we have to think and like get ourselves in prayer and think like, actually I can just use that. I don't need to wait for that. I can just use that. My mom always said to me, stop drowning in a cup of water. She will say that to me a lot. I guess because I tend to like, you know before, not now, right? I used to like overthink and be like, I don't know. She's like, it's so simple. She's like, you're drowning. It's so simple. Just do that and the other. My mom is dealing with dementia. Sometimes, one thing, I talk to her and all of that, but I miss having the conversations and advice from her, and things like that. But God knows why things happen, right? And that's the thing. Life is unpredictable, right? And I'm so very thankful to have those memories of her where, when she will see me so worried, she's like, you don't be so, you pray about anything. Like, that's the thing. I was thinking the other day, who I'm so faithful and I believe in faith so much. I'm like, that had to be coming from somebody. I'm like, it is my mom, right? Coming to this country with her two daughters, leaving her well salary job in the Dominican Republic and coming here with nothing, basically, taking that jump of faith and not knowing what's gonna happen. And throughout those times that we were like, staying in cousin's house, and uncle, this is gonna be, you're going to stay there this weekend, and the next weekend you're gonna go to another cousin's house. In those 8 months where we were back and forth, not knowing where we're gonna live and all of that, um, I only saw her one time, kind of lose the faith a little bit, and it was in New York. It's so crazy that I'm speaking about this, but this whole story with the mom and the daughter, I remember, one thing is to have faith, but when you see your parents lose the faith for a little bit, like, it's it's hard, right? So I remember being in New York in a park, right? We were staying with family. We didn't have a home, and um, it was a Saturday, I remember, and we went to this park. It was so cold though, right? But we were staying with my dad at in his girlfriend's apartment, but we were living in the living room, right? He had like bunk beds for me and my sister, and my mom was staying with cousins this weekend. The next week she will stay with another cousin. It was so hard to see her go through that. We went through that in like the first 2 months, and then our dad um kind of like made it possible for us to go and live with him. Um, but it was so uncomfortable too because we were in their living rooms. But anyways, so seeing my mom going through that, like I said, having a very stable job in the Dominican Republic, having her own apartment with us and having space and all of that, and leaving all of that on a promise that my dad made, and jumping on faith, um, being betrayed once again, and then family loves you in their home. After 3 days you gotta go, like, you gotta do something. And she looking for job desperately, not being able to find anything. And I would see her in this house where she was staying. She you know I saw her being like, kind of like trying to earn the permission to be there, meaning like she will be like, oh, I'll do the dishes, I'll take the garbage, I'll bring the kids to the bus stop, I'll do this and the other. And I was like, I don't like that. And I understand some, you have to do something if they're letting you stay in their home. But I felt like she was taking on too much. And it's almost like, when did that happen? How did she became that? And going back to that park in New York, it was so cold. We will, our dad would drop us off to see her on Saturday. So, you know, we're not gonna stay in her cousin's house. So we will go out and walk. We will walk Fordham Road in the Bronx and like everywhere, right? And we were sitting in this park, just having lunch, and she started crying like crazy. And we're like, what's going on? She's like, I can't find a job. And, my cousin told me that I need to, I can't live in her home anymore. And seeing my mom cry the way she was crying that day, I will never forget. And then my sister started crying, then I started crying. And I was like, how is this happening, right? How do we get ourselves into this? As as much that we love the country and everything, we didn't think it was going to be like that. And she was just crying. Then I remember how we got to Connecticut. It was crazy because she had her brother living here in Connecticut, and she's like, she called him and said, um she said, we're gonna go, they're the they're almost out of school or something, we're gonna go see Danbury, Connecticut, and see how we like it. And man, we came and we never went back to New York. And she was able to find work and all of that, and that was another jump of faith, right? We didn't know what was going to happen here, and it took a while, and we endured all of that. Thanks be to God, right? I think every immigrant story kind of goes hand in hand. It's so similar. The immigrant story, believe it or not, kind of like everything kind of like goes the same way, depending um how you enter the country, kind of goes the same way. If you come legal, right, you stay with family, and after 3 days you gotta go. And if you come through the border, you kind of hear the horrific stories of coming illegally and dealing with being scared like that, and paying so much money and being betrayed and all of that. But anyways, like I said before, right, I was saying, my mom really put that trust in the Lord no matter what. Like I said, throughout all these years that I known her, for one time was that moment. I'll never forget how she lost the faith because she started crying, and how low she got, that she let us see her like that, right? And you know we endured, thanks be to God. And it's been a long time after that, but thanks be to God. And I'm sure somebody needed to hear that. So here's so much that we learned from the story of the hiker who helped these two, the mom and the daughter, kind of come back from this moment of, um, thinking that it was all lost, that you have to let go and losing faith for a little bit. Ask for help, okay? Um, take that leap of faith, pray about it, and always remember God has your back. So God is going to take care of you no matter what. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming to watch this video on YouTube, or if you're listening in the podcast. Have a great day, everybody. God bless.